morning, or depending when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told, out of Voice of Radio. So today, we're going to be taking a look at a new Hawlucha card. I know, I got a real soft spot for Hawlucha. I adore the Hawlucha that we got back in Furious Fist. Wonderful card that I popped in a bunch of decks and absolutely adored. That is not this Hawlucha. This Hawlucha, now I should mention our translation comes from the lovely David Hockman here. And what we've got is a 90 HP Pokemon, which if my often asked for reprint of Level Ball ever becomes a reality, will be good. Otherwise, it's just kind of low. Retreat cost to 1 we like because of stuff like a skateboard. Resistance to fighting is good. It's nice to have a resistance. Weakness to lightning, no. You see, firstly, we've got Electro Power, and second, which lets them do an extra 30 damage, and then we've got stuff like Tapu Koko V. Well, Tapu Koko V does a natural 20 damage and draws 2 cards with its first attack, so they do 20 damage, but if they then whack an Electro Power down, that's 50 damage, double with weakness is 100 damage. That's a very bad thing. It's going to be quite easy to get rid of this. I mean, something like Morpeko V does 20 to the active, 20 to one of your opponent's bench. And again, if they whack an Electro Power down, they will get a one-hit KO with the real ancillary early game we might as well it's here kind of attack. Not good. And we want Hawlucha to be a fighting Pokemon. We want to be able to use stuff like Martial Arts Dojo, though I suppose Martial Arts Dojo is basic fighting energy, so you could still use that here. And we want it to use stuff like Karate Belt. And we want to use stuff like Diancie Prison Star. As a colourless Pokemon, you have nothing. I mean, you get to attack for colourless energy, which makes things convenient, but then there's a million different Pokemon out there that can attack for colourless energy, so let's just say it doesn't fill my heart with joy. Boo, hiss, etc. Never mind. The first attack is the main one we're looking at here. 1 colourless energy, shuffle your hand into your deck, and draw 5 cards. It's pretty good. And there's actually a bunch of stuff that's really, really good about this. A bunch of stuff. I mean, first of all, we sometimes need this in the early game. Now, don't get me wrong, sometimes you'll be playing a deck like Mewtwo and Mew, and your goal is just going to be welder, attach, go. Okay, cool. But other times you're not. Other times you're going to need a little bit of setup. I've been showing you on this channel for really a few weeks now since Sword and Shield came out in Japan. I've been showing you a bunch of Stage 2 decks that are working and are being good. I've shown you Rillaboom decks being good. I've shown you Inteleon decks being good. I've even shown you stuff like Vikavolt being quite good. But it takes a couple of turns for these decks to get rolling. You need a turn or two just to be able to actually get your evolutions, get your energy on the field. And we need a starting Pokemon. And if you're playing a starting Pokemon, what you're really looking for is basic Pokemon, single energy attack, and a retreat cost of no more than 1. Because, yes, I know we've got Balloon that will give you free retreat because it reduces your retreat cost by 2. So if you've got a retreat of 2 or less, that will work. But come on, it's not really what we're looking for, is it? It's not really the goal. We want easy retreat. Attach an energy to Hawlucha to use the attack, and then just discard that when you retreat. Or use something like a skateboard, so even if you're asleep or paralyzed, you still get the retreat. It's good. We like this. But the other thing we need to consider at the moment is that we're in a format with an awful lot of 2 and 3 prize Pokemon. We've got a whole bunch of Pokemon V, like the aforementioned Tapu Koko that give up 2 prizes. Things like Mewtwo and Mew, your Tag Team GXs that give up 3 prizes. And that means that you can essentially just sacrifice 1 or 2 single prize Pokemon without really ever worrying about it. If I'm using a Mewtwo and Mew deck, I can have a Mewtwo and Mew KO'd and 2 Hawlucha, and my opponent still needs to KO a Mewtwo and Mew to win the game. If they KO 2 Mewtwo and Mew, they've taken 6 prizes, they win. If they KO a Hawlucha, then another Hawlucha, then a Mewtwo and Mew, they've taken 5 prizes, they've yet to win the game. If they then KO another Mewtwo and Mew, they win, which basically means that KOing those 2 Hawlucha is irrelevant. The same thing works with 2 prize Pokemon, except it's 2 that need to be KO'd, not 3 for the win. And that means you can only really ever sacrifice 1 of these. So my point is that in the early game, you could have something like Hawlucha sitting in the active, giving you a new hand of cards constantly. And even when it goes down, it doesn't really matter. And of course, going behind on prizes can be good. Going behind on prizes activates that Karate Belt I mentioned earlier. It activates Counter Gain to reduce your attack cost by 1 colorless energy for any Pokemon. Karate Belt reduces it by 1 fighting energy, so clearly it's got to be for fighting Pokemon. It doesn't actually have to be for fighting Pokemon, but it only reduces your attack cost by 1 fighting energy, so I'll let you do the maths on that. Maybe there's a odd exception. And then it means you can use something like Lieutenant Surge's strategy to go ahead and play 3 supporters in 1 turn. There's a lot of good stuff to be had here. Being behind on prizes isn't the end of the world. And you've got to manipulate it, don't get me wrong. But in the early game, having this up and using it could be good. It's like a free Tate and Liza. Which of course leads to the obvious question, do we have anything better? And the kind of giveaway answer from me, which is not really. Now, we have a few options, but I don't think any of them are as good as Hawlucha. So we got the Chatot from Unbroken Bonds. The Chatot from Unbroken Bonds is basically Copycat. You shuffle your hand into your deck, and you draw a number of cards equal to the number of cards in your opponent's hand. And sometimes that will be more than 5. Certainly, if your opponent uses Eevee and Snorlax's GX attack to leave them with a hand of 10 cards, or Rayquaza's GX attack to leave them with a hand of 10 cards, yes! Okay. But that's not always going to happen. Most of the time, it's going to be better to have the guaranteed 5 than take the gamble. Okay. As a side note, we do also have a Mimikyu that's got Mimic as well. But, I mean, it's for a fairy energy, which makes it way less convenient. And I still don't like it as much. So, yeah. Sorry, Mimikyu. We have got the Cleffa from Unbroken Bonds, which does give you 6. It also takes up a bench space, but it's not the end of the world. But it is on a coin flip, which means if you flip tails, you don't get a new hand of cards. You just end your turn. That is a very, very bad thing. We do have the Plusle from Celestial Storm that lets you get a new card for every bench Pokemon in play, yours and your opponent's. This could be better, to be fair, this could be better, but you've got to fill your bench. And if you fill your bench and your opponent puts 1 bench Pokemon down, that's fine. You are then drawing more cards, but now you're forcing yourself to fill your bench when you might not want to. You might not have drawn the cards you really want to bench, so it's fine, but it could be kind of awkward. And they're the ones that haven't rotated out. We had a few that let you shuffle your hand into your deck and draw 6 cards. We had the Shaman from Shining Legends, which was a basic, but was also on a grass energy, so it wasn't exactly ideal. We had the Manaphy that came around in Primal Clash, but again, that was for a water energy, so it wasn't exactly ideal. And we had a Promo Mew, which let you shuffle your hand into your deck and draw 6 cards, but again, that was for a psychic energy, a coloured energy. My point here is, as it stands at the moment, if you want a basic Pokemon to whack in the active to draw yourself some cards and refresh your hand constantly, this is the best basic single prize option we've got. Simple as that. Now, the attacking attack, the one what does damage, we don't care. We're really not going to be particularly good, if I'm honest with you. 1 colourless energy, 30 damage, no. Nope, nobody cares. Maybe if we still had Choice Band and you were hitting for some kind of weakness, but no. If this was a fighting Pokemon and we could go Diancie Prism Star and Martial Arts Dojo and be hitting weakness against good, relevant Pokemon, yes, but we're not. It's actually just 30 damage. Yeah, let's just move on from that. I'm still giving Hawlucha between 3 and 4 Wassies. We don't give half Wassies. That would be barbaric. It's not a bad card by any stretch of the imagination. I just don't know how much we need it. It really is as simple as that. Some decks will want a Pokemon to start off in the early game. This is a good option. If you don't want that, you don't want this. It's as simple as that. But if you do, well, I've just run through the alternatives. I really like it. But I'd like to know what you think, so let me know in the comment section. Go nuts! Be nice. And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at @TheWassy, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCGRadio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all that good stuff, head on over to patreon.com/PTCGRadio, where you can do exactly that. And please do make sure you're checking out youtube.com/WassyPlays, where we can talk about a whole bunch of games that don't have Pokemon in, but absolutely do deserve your time and attention. But by far the most important thing, as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.